What's up, you guys? It's Flock. So, Justice wanted me to show some cane strikes. This is the cane that I have for now. Usually it would, break apart into two pieces down here. But as you can see, I had to glue it because it cracked from me swinging because I have a brass head and it's cheap wood. But like I said, these heads are interchangeable. They come in Warhammers. As you can see, this one is pointed a little bit at the tip. And it's brass. It's pointed a little bit at the tip so that you can get that, downward hit or side hit with it. But usually these would collapse into two. And on the inside, they do come with like a garrote for choking. There's wires that come inside. There's a prong in this one at the bottom of this part. There's a prong that sticks out probably about that far, so that when this is broken down in half, this would be your hammer end. This side would be used for jabbing or just hitting with, but it would just be pretty much for jabbing, to use the prong to stab with. Not deep enough to do any significant damage to organs, but will definitely break the skin and hurt somebody. Fuck somebody up if you jabbed them in the ribs. But like I said, these heads, they do come off. Hold on. They're interchangeable. I really like this one because it has a lot of weight to it. But the prong that I was talking about is pretty much like this. It's just like that. It's a screw prong. It's the one that's down in here on the bottom, or in the middle of this thing. It's the same thing in here, which can be used for stabbing. There are other ones with sharper ends and spikes, but this is the head. There's many other heads that, can go on this thing. There are many battle axes. There's Warhammers, all kinds of different heads that you can get. There's dragon heads, stuff like that. Alright, so let me put this back together. And I'll show a couple basic strikes. Since I'm indoors, I gotta be careful. Can't swing it too hard. The way I broke it was swinging it pretty heavy up at UNM. Look out, puppy dog. Out the way. Alright, let me see here. Let me turn this around so I can stand this up. So, it all depends, though, which side's your lead hand. So, this hand right here is my power hand, my right hand. So, like, for an overhead, it would be like that. Side attack, overhand, side attack. So, you can do a couple different variations of these. But basically, you're going to be hitting sideways, hitting overhead, here again, jab, side. You're not really going to be swinging wildly with it or anything like that. It's just not how you would use a cane. Always hold it like this. This hand's going to be the power. This is your lead, so that you can get your pivot for the overhead. Come around. You can jab with it. Definitely you can jab. So bam, boom, ba, ba, ba. So that would be down, around, around. And the thing is with it, once it like hits, it will bounce. So you can overhead, around, down, overhead, or side. So, if you're gonna hold it like this, you will plan it might break on impact, especially if it's got the if it's not a whole piece. But so jabbing is pretty simple. You just thrust forward like a spear, side, overhead, side. But basically, so for the overhead, it's just simple like a hammer, and you can kind of overhead to overhead. So overhead to overhead. But, the main part of it is, if you're going to overhead, you're going for the blunt, or you can hit with this part right here, which will do really significant damage. But that's an around, overhead, overhead, side to stop. You catch it here so that you're not going through to do too much damage. Because if you're gonna, if you're gonna hit somebody with it real hard, you can kill somebody with the cane very, very simply. But it's one of my new favorite weapons. I'm going to be getting more cane heads for it. Probably some axes. And because I'm inside, I can't really go as hard as I would if I was outdoors with it. But pretty much for the overhead, hold like this, come around, overhead. Just like you're swinging a sledgehammer, which is kind of what it is. It's a mini sledgehammer. Side. So that would be overhead to side. Pretty simple stuff once you get it down. Now from this side, I'm not very good. I'm not very coordinated, so I wouldn't really hit with this side. This wouldn't be the side that I would hit with. Always going to be over here so that I can have more control with it. You know, and you're not going to be doing that kind of fancy shit with it. Definitely not. Cane isn't meant to be fancy. It's meant to be proficient, deadly, and it's more of a tool than it is a weapon. But like I said, these things are interchangeable. Lots and lots of really nice cane heads out there. I'm waiting for a couple of them online right now. But those are pretty much the basics. You know, side hit, overheads. You can uppercut with it too, you could, but it's not very, I don't really see why you would uppercut. I'd rather jab you with it in the chest or in the chin or maybe in the neck. But they're pretty basic strikes. If you're universal and you can strike both ways, there is a lot more different attacks you can do, but you don't really change your hands up. You know, you wouldn't switch up in the middle of a fight with the cane. And usually, you know, once you have the cane in your hand and somebody's going to fight you with it, you know, you kill somebody if they had a knife. If somebody had a knife and I had a cane on me, oh, dude, you're fucked. I'm going to guarantee I have more range than you. I've got more power. I've got the blood, the tip here to bludgeon you with. But that's pretty much it, you guys. So I'll go over them slow. So for the side, just like that, you catch it. Catch this part on your wrist. Or you can just extend through, you know. So you're extending through, then around. Same with the overhead. You can kind of overhead, then overhead. So, bah, bah. So the jab is very effective. A cane that's a little bit longer, you can kind of hook or like hook somebody's heel with it, you know, get around behind them, pull their arm into, if you needed to, pull their arm into a push kick. So you can like pull to a push kick. There's lots of things that you can do with the cane, but the basics really are side, overhead, side, overhead, side, and then jab. Those are the three main basics you're going to be doing with the cane. You're not really going to be doing anything fancy with it. It's pretty much a tool. It's a hammer. So that's jab to around, over, you know, side. Once you get them fluid, you can kind of do some combos with it. You can jab, uppercut with it like that. So you jab, uppercut this end, uppercut this end. But those are the basics of a cane. One of my new favorite weapons. I'm going to start practicing a lot more with it. This, and I'm going to keep doing bow staff. I just learned how to do a wrist flick with the staff, but I don't have enough room in here, as you guys can see. And this thing is pretty fucking heavy. I mean, I wouldn't doubt this thing weighs 3 pounds or so. But it's a nice cane head. Definitely a good weapon. You've got this end just for blunt attacks if you wanted to. You know, but cane is definitely a deadly weapon. There are videos out there of how to use canes, but they're the traditional cane that actually wrap around, you know, they have a hook to them. So this is more of like a Warhammer style cane. But that's it for now, you guys. That's for you, Justice. Once I learn a couple more things with it, and I actually am outside at the park or something, I'll get into doing some heavier strikes. And once I am able to get another one that collapses in the middle, I'll show you guys how to use them as like collie sticks or bolo sticks, whatever you want to call them. But this one, you know, it did used to break in half in the middle. And there are ones that actually are set in 3 so that you can break them down into tri-chucks. But that's pretty much it for now. Just some basic cane. All right, you guys, I'm out.